very, very important part of this community, as we all know, meeting with our elected officials and getting them to act on our behalf, and trying to make a change to how we are governing our community. In fact, they don't govern our community, they simply manage our assets. And Charlene Indelicado made that abundantly clear recently in a recent meeting when she voiced exactly that. So we actually attempted to have a meeting this past month, and it was very poorly attended. We only had 4 people show up out of, I think, 12 people that are actually registered as government relations members. I'm going to be sending out a notice to all the people that are registered, and I'd like to get your honest impression as to whether or not you want to continue, because having meetings where we don't have a quorum is not a good idea. It impedes the progress that we can make for this organization, for this committee, and this committee's work is very important. We were delighted to hear that Rebecca Seabright, our new assemblywoman, has already given some thought to how we can govern this community and improve the governance of this community, and is thinking of a plan. We're going to be meeting with her, as I just learned this evening, twice over this coming month. So, you know, that's something that we can do in order to help move things along. I'm going to read a motion. It hasn't been approved by government relations, although we discussed in the meeting bringing this motion, bringing this resolution, but I'd like to submit it, and we need a second.
Yes, so we need a second.
Yeah. And this has to do with our concerns over the lack of funding or the reluctance of RIOC to provide the public purpose funds. So here it goes, folks. It goes like this. Whereas, and I think you'll understand the background for it as I read it. Whereas the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation was entrusted with...
Joyce, take the mic a little way from your mouth, because I'm getting it back. Thank you. I want to actually hear what you have to say.
Whereas the Roosevelt... Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm so used to having to stick it in our mouth.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Whereas the Roosevelt Island Operating Corporation was entrusted with funds from the builders of Manhattan Park to be held specifically for the benefit of the nonprofit organizations of Roosevelt Island. Whereas RIOC spent said funds with no accounting for their distribution and failed in its responsibility to maintain them for the benefit of the community. Whereas the services provided by the nonprofits of Roosevelt Island greatly support and enhance the quality of life in the community for every man, woman, and child residing here. Whereas due to RIOC's inappropriate oversight of dedicated funds, it agreed to future annual distribution of $100,000 per year in public purpose funds to island nonprofits. Therefore, the Common Council of the Roosevelt Island Residents Association hereby requests that RIOC continue the policy of dispersing $100,000 or more to island nonprofits as public purpose funds for 2015 and every subsequent year. We consider this distribution a debt, not a grant, to the community.
All right, you have a motion for you. Is it seconded? Second. Joyce, would you like to speak to it? We'll take friendly amendments after Joyce has spoken to the motion, and then we can go from there. So Joyce, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think it helps you understand what happened with this money. It was given to us because of Manhattan Park. It was a payment in lieu of taxes. They weren't actually supposed to spend this money. It was, I think, about $4 million that was initially given to us, and the interest alone would have funded the public purpose funds. Once they squandered the public purpose funds, they agreed simply to pay the $100,000, which would have resulted from their retaining the money properly. So this is basically putting in motion a specific way around the concept of grants and the, I forgot what the board is called. You mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. You mentioned it a couple of minutes ago. The ABO. Yeah. They're specifically, their edict is that RIOC cannot give out a grant. And this specifically states, categorizes this as not a grant. It's a debt to this community. They are indebted because they lost our money.
So there has been a friendly amendment that's going to be proposed, and I will take one speaker in favor and one speaker against. Ellen, did you have a friendly amendment that you wish to propose?
Actually, I just wanted to add in there, it wasn't clear that it was previous RIOC administration that squandered the money. I'd like to add the word previous in there.
So the question is, so please, the friendly amendment has been suggested that it be referenced to the previous RIOC administration. Do you accept the friendly amendment or do you not?
I believe that RIOC has continuity in the eyes of the state. And because we don't want to give them the impression that we let them off the hook because it's not the present people, and that was, in fact, Charlene's response when I brought this up to her in our meeting.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
so the
so
response is,
I want to make sure that they know it's
So-
it has continuity.
thank you. So the response is no, you do not wish to accept the friendly amendment. Is there a speaker in favor of them? I would like to see one speaker in favor and one speaker against the resolution. Yes. Is there anyone in favor of the resolution who would like to speak on behalf of this Joyce's resolution? Eva, and then is there anyone against who would like to speak in favor or against? Dave. Eva, you have a minute.
I just want to say that I think it's very important that we as RIRA in some way express the importance of this issue, our solidarity with the community and with all those organizations who approach us individually and as a common council to help them in some way to get the funds, because I think this is what RIRA really is here for, partially, to help the community, to help the quality of life for all the residents. If we stay inactive on this issue, what are we really doing? This has been services for us and for the people we've been elected from, and I truly believe that if we can change words, but I think we should really act, and we should act today, because in a month it might be too late. And we have read recently in the media that RIOC has not exhausted money from the last year from certain budgets. 2/3 went to this year. Like there is money, it looks like there is money there. Why should it not be used for our organizations and our men and women and children?
Thank you. Dave, opposition?
This is a delicate issue. I like the motion, sort of, but I think the timing is just not good at this point. RIOC knows our position on this, number one. RIOC is in the throes of trying to get a clarification from the authority's budget office. There's nothing we can do to enforce that decision. It's really not in our hands. We have made it clear that we are for and in favor of public purpose, whether we call it grant or fund. You may call it, of course, a different color, but it's the same color. So I'm not sure the timing is just right. We need to give an opportunity for this to play out between the ABO and the public authorities. That's my view.
John, did you speak in favor?
No, actually.
In opposition? Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Yes.
No, I'm not speaking in favor of Dave's comments.
Okay, no, that's opposition. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Are you going to speak in favor, Ellen?
I think that one does not preclude the other. I think we can make a statement that we were owed this money for a very long time and the money was squandered. We could also fight in favor of the authority's budget office, making an exception for residential communities. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to advocate very strongly for ourselves as a community to get the money that we have always gotten to run the programs that we need to run to make a vibrant community here. So I think we need to address that in two angles, and I think Joyce's resolution works for one angle, and I think Dave's point about getting the Authorities Budget Act to change something works from a different point, for a different angle, and we should do both.
Not mutually exclusive.
John, opposition?
I don't think the issue is lack of money. And I don't think that's, the issue is they can't spend it. So we can't spend it because there's been directives that come down from the governor's office that specifically are addressing areas of corruption that happened in the past. One was a power company upstate that was giving away land for pennies on the dollar. Another one was Battery Park City that was using monies that were allocated for Battery Park City for things that were completely unrelated to Battery Park City. It's a heavy hand that's been put on the authorities, and they're trying to find a way to find an exception that will allow them to carry on some of the activities they've done in the past, such as the public purpose funds. And to do that, they have to find a way to get around these directives, work with the authorities budget office in a way that allows them to, because they serve a different function than a power company or than a British authority does. But right now, the language of those directives covers that, and it's not going to be an easy task to figure out a way around that. And I'm not saying that giving support to a resolution that says we need these funds, etc., doesn't help to indicate the community's desire for this. But it isn't going to change what they're up against. They're doing a difficult dance right now because of the administration. It's the governor's office, not RIRA.
Thank you. Anyone else, any other elected members who are in support of the motion? Aaron?
I think there's a misunderstanding about Joyce's motion. This motion shifts it. This motion shifts the money of the PPS from a grant to a debt. It has nothing, and that takes us away from a grant. This is money that's has been held or lost by RIOC for many, many, many years. It was, when this money was given to RIOC, it was to support the community. Okay? So it's a whole different bag than dealing with this state regulation. It's not a grant.
All right, thank you. Opposition from elected members. Janet?
I'm not in opposition, but I have to say that I don't have a clear understanding of the reference to money being taken away, money being squandered, and I'm wondering if there's someone who has institutional memory and kind of documentation that can explain how you can justifiably use that language of money squandered and money taken away.
So, you want to respond, Joyce?
Surely. Yes, I do have institutional memory. And yes, we are very much aware that the money was squandered. It was squandered with an organization called RIRA, where they never kept track of or accounted for any of the expenditures, and the money disappeared. And all of us that were involved with RIRA at the time were well aware of what happened at that time. But I just wanted to state that the grounds for the interruption of paying out the public purpose funds, the methodology behind their action is specific, that they do not want a public benefit corporation providing grants. That's the stall that we are facing now. The language of this is specifically designed to make it, to make the state of New York keenly aware that this is not a grant, it is a debt. And in fact, I believe we should send them a bill to go along with this.
Yeah. Are there any
So
other
then they'll cover what they're
Please.
saying.
Are there any other elected members
It's a
who
bit
have
different.
not spoken yet who wish to either raise opposition, or who have not spoken yet who raise the opposition or in favor of?
I just want Josie, she can read again the part that it's a debt, so it will be like clear for all of us. Only the part that it's a debt and it's not a grant.
So point of order has been raised to ask the resolution to be reread into the record. Will you please, I move that we please reread the resolution.
Do you want me to reread the whole thing?
No, just the point.
Susan just asked me to reread it.
Just read the clarification part, please.
Okay, so I'm going to read it from the therefore. Therefore, the Common Council of the Roosevelt Island Residents Association hereby requests that we continue the policy of dispersing $100,000 or more to island nonprofits as public purpose funds for 2015 and every subsequent year. We consider this distribution a debt, not a grant, to the community.
Did you have any questions, or did you wish to make a comment this time?
Yeah, the only comment that I will have is that just to remind RIOC and the state why it is a debt and it's not a grant.
That's in the whereas.
Read that one.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other elected members of the board who wish to rate, have not been heard yet from, who wish to either raise in support of or in opposition? We're trying to, we want to make sure that everyone is heard. Seeing none, we're now going to the alternates.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Was there any legal documents that would say that this money is due to us and then they lost it? Is there legally something, or was it like a promise?
There was an actual document setting up the public purpose fund. And it happened under Jerry Blue's administration. There was a lot of shenanigans that went on. And they simply lost it. It just disappeared from the balance sheet. So in order to disprove this, they would have to come up with accounting statements that they can't possibly come up with in order to refute it. They lost the money.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go to the alternates. Frank, take a minute.
Thank you. I'll just say that reporting of the past is it mischaracterizes this. This was created in the late 80s, and the public purpose payments were part of the Manhattan Park ground lease. They were payments in lieu of taxes, in lieu of sales taxes. So for all the construction that was there, instead of the contractors paying sales tax on it, the monies that would have gone paying for sales tax then went into this public purpose payments, which then came back directly into the community. There was no requirement that they go towards not-for-profits. In fact, Verizon was one of the companies that they were paid to do the hanging dice and whatever. There's some art installation that they did way back when, and in terms of matching funds and stuff like that. So there's no tie-in to that. The latest reincarnation, though, of this was approximately 2008, and the monies that you speak of really are those $2.5 million that came out of the public purpose payments, which then got spent, and as long as they got spent within the scope of what they were supposed to be spent on, which is in that ground lease, then they would have, it could have been spent by anything. In fact, at some point, departments within RIOC were looking to spend some of that money for their own purpose. Not maybe what we wanted, but as it seemed to be in compliance.
Thank you, Frank. Your time is expired.
Sorry, something incorrect.
Helen?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think, all over Roosevelt Island was under a lot of anguish about this ABO ruling because the money was a tradition for us for many years. However, as Dave has said, RIOC is in the process of trying to get clarification. They're working with people at ABO and in Albany. I think one thing we could do is find out if there's going to be a deadline or a time whereby they're going to let the community know what is up, instead of letting them hang on and hang on and hang on, because then we could try to focus on organizing maybe workshops or some sort of mechanism whereby the nonprofits can get information on how to fundraise and apply for grants, which, you know, I've communicated with you about that. So we could do something positive.
Thank you. So, is there any other further discussion? Joyce, I will let you close with a final statement concerning the resolution unless someone makes a motion.